This morning. But I wanted to show you, this is the raised bed that has mulch and chicken manure, but it's a very low bed. There's not a high concentration of manure, just a scattering. And this is one way that you can protect plants at night. There is some decomposition in this soil because there is manure quite a bit below the planting soil. But these are basil. It was 60 degrees yesterday. This one was pretty sad, and if I don't have this on, it gets really sad because the wind beats it up a bit. But they look pretty good. They came out of the hotbed yesterday, and that's what the hotbed is for, is to allow you to take seedlings and everything that you started super early, and instead of them having to start from the beginning when the weather finally warms up, they're mature, they're ready to go, they just need to be transplanted by the time the weather warms up. So cover them back up. So that's a good little greenhouse for them. It would be better if it had holes in it, but it's very temporary. I just kind of wanted to show you some of the different options. So this, I'm gonna get my pants all muddy trying to get low enough to show you. So this is the other raised bed. So I have bricks to hold down the fabric, and then there's the basil. And you see, even though this is not really sturdy, it still protects it from wind. See, holds it down really nice. It protects it from wind, and it allows air to pass back and forth rather than having it be plastic, which traps heat. So if there's too much heat because it's a really bright day, then this is your friend. It's called Remate, and I got it from Territorial Seeds. I really like them. I also got my greenhouse plastic from them. So I might need to anchor that with one more brick in the middle. And this here is just a piece of wire that I bent to form a loop over the plants so they weren't being crushed. And this, and that's how everybody looks right now. You can see the peas in the back. The peas in the back. So those peas took a really long time to come up, and the reason is that it's a little bit dark back here. There's not a lot of sunlight, and it was cold. So it doesn't. They're not going to start germinating until they have the signal that it's warm enough to come up. There's a lot of traffic here in the morning. So over here, we had peas too, and it wasn't covered. So they've been nibbled on. Can you see that they got eaten in the night? We have bunnies, sorry, we have bunnies and squirrels around here. Hey Wolf Mountain, hey Brown Coat. We have bunnies around here, and so when I put that over the top, it keeps the bunnies out. These peas were harvested in the night before they ever got to be big enough to feed anybody. So I'm going to show you what it looks like in the morning when I let chickens out. Because I knew we weren't going to be here very long, I just used welded wire that hooks around in place. And I do that back home too. If I have new animals, I don't want to waste time and money on building something really perfect, because I don't know if it's going to work. And if it's not going to work, then I just wasted my money, and I need to save my money until I know that a certain type of shelter or a certain type of fence is going to be better. So, hey guys, are you coming out? So I use I collected leaves as they're bedding in there so that I don't have to buy something else, and I need to change that out about every 2 or 3 days. Carlton family, Barbara Nelson Gomez said, thanks for popping in, guys. So, and again, we use old milk jugs. See if I can show you. I filled these up yesterday. So this is the water, and this is the food, and we do put water in the food to rehydrate it. They don't waste it so much. They digest it faster and better. So that's that. So I was going to show you. Wolf Mountain said, is it too late for me to start a hotbed? I'm in Kentucky. Probably. The purpose of the hotbed is just to give bottom heat. It's like those mats, those seed mats that you plug in and they warm the bottom of your seed trays. It doesn't take very long for it to heat up, but I don't know, how long does it take for your soil to heat up? Because if your soil is already at 60 degrees now, you can just plant into the soil. But if what you're growing is tomatoes, it's never too late. You know, if you have something that really likes hot, that really likes things to be warm, then yeah, you should totally do a hotbed. And it doesn't have to be this tall. I do mine tall just out of habit. I could have done it much shorter, but back home we need a longer heat. So here we go. I planted those basil yesterday when I planted the others. And what I made sure to do was, before I put them in, I took a whole bunch of my rabbit manure tea in here. I took my rabbit manure tea, and the bare spot back there, I poured a couple of coffee containers, a couple of these, into the mulch in the back so that it'll heat that space once I have the basil in. But I don't want the rabbit manure tea to necessarily touch the basil. So I poured it in first, I planted the basil in, and then I watered a little bit so there wasn't too high of a concentration of nitrogen. So you can see I have my regular seed trays that I want to make sure they sprout, and I don't want them getting washed away when I water. I've got peas in here, I've got lettuce, I've got cabbages, I've got chives, I've got onions, nettles, carrots, more carrots, peas in the back, and basil, all that fun stuff. So Gomez said, what bird is screaming? Sounds like a pet. No, it's just a local bird here. Sorry, I can't see what everybody's saying. It's gonna be windy today. Okay, so Wolf Mountain Homestead said, I plan to do mine at 2 feet. Is that too short? You know, if you have really fresh manure and you use a lot of rabbit manure tea, and you have if you have carbon that isn't going to break down too fast, like if you have logs, then what'll happen is you'll still get a nice heat. It'll be warm enough. But if it isn't straw, it won't. Straw has a tendency to heat up really fast, and it burns up really fast, and then it sinks really fast, especially if it's not compressed. So if you use straw bales and just use rabbit manure tea, instead of like building a big old bed, you just use the bales, pour rabbit manure tea over it. Make sure you have a planting frame made out of 2x4s along the top edge, and put your planting medium in that. If you don't, the dirt just kind of falls off the sides. I'll see if I can find the video for you guys and like suggest it in Facebook or something so you can see it. But you don't have to build the tall frame like this. You can just use straw bales. The trick is you need to put down cardboard on top of the straw bales, and you need to have a 2x4 frame around the outside, resting on the lip of those straw bales to put your planting medium into. Otherwise, your planting medium will fall through the cracks. The other reason I have these so tall is that I like to have my ducks free in the garden to eat slugs and keep mice out. We got some wind. And to keep mice out. And so if I build these really tall, then my ducks can't reach their bills in to eat the roots of my plants. If I do it as a 1-layer straw bed, then the ducks can eat everything around the roots. They can eat the dirt. If I do a 2-level straw bed with like that, then they can't. So it's all about kind of learning your system and what livestock and everything you have. Red Patron said, what are your thoughts about a raised keyhole garden versus your straight raised bed? I think I'm sure they would both work. The reason that I've done mine straight is because I started out with straw bales, and if you don't mind a little bit of wiggling, I mean, the thing is, you could make a keyhole garden. You could make a keyhole garden with the wire. Just maybe you don't see the wire. You could use the wire and create a compost pile like what I did, which was in the middle just to hold the leftover carbon I needed to put into the hotbed. You could make a keyhole garden out of this. And there's a guy out there that's actually doing it. Is it Planting Abundance? Might be that. There's a guy out there that's already doing that, that he takes this wire and he stuffs it with straw, and then he puts manure on top, and then he puts straw, and then he puts manure, and then he puts straw, and he uses those as his planting beds because they decompose and they protect what he's planting from his chickens, because the chickens can't get through the wire to get to what he's planted. So he'll plant his squash into those. He'll let the compost get as high as the edge of the fence, his layers of nitrogen and carbon, and then once they've mellowed, once they've heated and come back down, that's where he plants his squash. But anyway, that's what it looks like. And this was up to here yesterday, so I watered it in, I put rabbit manure tea in, it's starting to come down again. And then this in here is the last of the carbon that I need to add, and then all the carbon's gone, and at that point I will start scraping up mulch off the ground and adding that too, so that I'm not leaving big pieces of wood here for the renter to deal with from the mulch. Let's see. Yeah, we got some wind coming in. Okay, so yeah, that would be fun to show. That's a really good idea. So, okay. This is going to protect everything in here a lot better than the ones in the front. I really like this. This is just PVC, and I have it strapped at the bottom. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Yeah, sorry, you won't be able to see it. I use plumber's tape, the metal plumber's tape with the holes in it, to attach the PVC at the bottom. And sorry, all sorts of gunk in my eyes. And so what I'm planning on doing is that while I'm gone to Idaho, I will set up a hose with an automatic timer here, so that it'll continue to water the hotbeds, because what I want is I want it to continue to decompose, so that when I come back to get it, all that's left is compost, like totally 100% just compost, and some of the bigger wood pieces. And that way there's not much left for me to clean up. I can dismantle the beds, we can take the wood back to our landlord, and it's already cleaned up. And so the thing is, I'm gonna have it on an automatic waterer, and that way John doesn't have to worry about it. He doesn't really like to eat garden type stuff. And then I'll ask the cute lady down the street to say, I've got it on an automatic waterer, will you come harvest please? If you'd like salad greens, if you would like peas, please feel free to come and take it from the garden. And I'll probably ask John if he can. Well, actually, by the time I leave, probably I'll need to take this off and put a shade cloth over instead, because once we have some really good sunlight and it's not freezing at night anymore or getting cold at night, this will be overkill, and it will start to cook the plants. So instead I'll take one of those, what's it called? I'll take one of those Rime frost covers and attach it here, and attach it the same way so that it can protect the plants from wind and from squirrels and from everything else. It'll protect the bed, but it'll let air in and out. Because also I couldn't set up an automatic watering system with this plastic over it. It would cause too much humidity in there, too much damp, and it would all rot. So gardening is intricate, I guess is the word. I love it because I love to have something to keep my mind busy, and another experiment to try to see what will happen. That's how, oh my goodness, I'm sorry. I totally didn't see that there were people there, and it didn't give me a down arrow. Hey, Susan. Yeah, I do need one of those fuzzy mics to put on. Wolf Mountain Homestead said, will you be gardening and raising animals in Idaho again in your tiny house? Because John is putting in resumes right now, I don't know exactly where I'll be, so I will be there helping my renter to get things set up. I'll be there to help with babies. And one really exciting thing is that I will be working with Darwin and Melanie for 6 weeks straight, showing you some of the cool stuff they're doing. If you've never heard of aircrete, you're missing out, because a lot of people out there want to build monolithic domes or debt-free homes, and one of the neatest things I've ever seen is aircrete. So if you haven't checked out the Honeydew Carpenter, make sure you do. I'm sorry that this is going to be super loud with the wind. Brown Coat Homestead said, will you be a live stream at the gathering in Mississippi? You know, I don't know. At this point, I wasn't really leaning towards taking my camera. We will be staying with Lori Family Homestead, and Bobby and I are going down, so that will be fun, a girls' trip. Red Proton, there we go. Why do I want to make it sound like an alcoholic beverage? Patron. Proton said, can you water underground to prevent high humidity? I do at home, but in this area, you have to be real, I don't know, even back home you had to be really careful not to overwater in a greenhouse situation, and this is a greenhouse situation. At this point I have so much on the surface that if I try to put something in underneath that doesn't, you know, actually have the water go up into the air, I'm going to be damaging plants. So I might be damaging plants anyway. It'll be interesting to see what I decide to do. I have John and the girls staying home when I go to Mississippi, just so that we can make a quicker trip. And so I will advise the girls on how to do it, and hopefully I have some plants that are still alive when I get back, if you know what I mean. See a Wolf Mountain. Susan Sullivan, how about a misting system? Yes, what I generally use is a misting system, for sure. But I'm excited to see, and hopefully we'll get some food out of this, either for us or for the neighbors. So I'm gonna go do what I need to do. Today the chickens are being picked up and the rabbits are being picked up, so it'll be interesting not having livestock. It was nice to have them for a few weeks. Anyway, I love you guys. And let's see, what other thing oh, I get my garden seeds from Am I Gardener or Michigan Gardener, and generally the link is in the description below. I do make a little money off of them, but I do love their seeds. And what's the other thing? I have t-shirts. I'll go add the t-shirts if you guys want t-shirts. So, talk to you later.